It's rare that a good Alien game has been made because it's so difficult to break away from the video game tropes that we know about, overpowered space marines and you're the hero, and focus on what makes the Alien movie great, about fear and about tension and about helplessness. Alien is all about being alone and being basically helpless against a threat that's stronger than you and faster than you and smarter than you.
How could they cut the power, man? They're animals.
And all it really wants is to kill you, and you don't have much chance against it. So you're constantly scared, you constantly have this sense of dread, of doom, of imminent death. And that's kind of what makes these movies click, is that you are kind of clenching your seats and you're tense the whole time because the characters, they could die at any moment. The whole idea of the Alien movies is that you're the hunted, basically. And in video games, you're the hunter. You're the aggressor. You're the one with the big gun and the bad attitude. And so the Alien games have often taken that approach, where they arm you with these cool weapons and they put you in locales that you recognize from the movies, but then you're just gunning down xenomorphs left and right, which is just a huge contrast, because instead of terror, you have confidence and you have power, and you're killing them in droves. So one of the interesting things is that you can make a really fun game by having an overpowered space marine fighting xenomorphs. And there's been a lot of really good games based on this franchise, but they're not good Alien games. So there have been other games outside the Alien franchise that have actually done certain elements really well that would make for a great Alien video game. If you look at Dead Space, for instance, that initial game understands pacing. Things don't happen all the time. And that's why it's so scary, is that you don't know when you're going to be attacked, and you go minutes at a time waiting for anything to jump out, and your nerves are shot because of that. So when you combine it with the excellent sound design and the atmospheric visuals, like, it just makes for a really tense and gripping game, because you're waiting to shoot and there's nothing there. Yeah, and in Dead Space, when they do show up, they can overwhelm you and they can kill you in a hurry. So you never rush in, you never feel cocky, you never feel secure.
Yeah! Fire me! Yeah! Marine! Just down the die! Get on the running line!
Overconfidence is interesting because you can start the game as that cocky Marine who thinks that they're a badass. But you need to be brought down a peg. You need to be shown that you're immortal, that you're a human, that you are going to die if you rush into combat. And that's kind of where the Alien games struggle, is they make you overpowered in the beginning and they never take that away from you. You always feel like you're going to win. So Alien games usually have the same manner of dealing with death as every other video game out there. You die, there's a nearby checkpoint, you respawn, and you just continue shooting like nothing happened. And that works for most games, because most games are just kind of power fantasies, and that's fun. But Aliens is supposed to be like, I really don't want to die. I really want to stay alive as long as possible. And if you look at something like Dark Souls, you don't necessarily get set really far back, but you lose your souls. It is actually a severe penalty when you die. And because of that, you round every corner with your shield up, and you don't rush into battle, and you're scared and you're tense, because you don't want to lose any of your hard work. A really good Alien game needs to borrow from Dark Souls in that matter, and that making death matter, making it count, making you fear death. There's a few different ways they could go for an appropriate punishment for death in an Alien game. There's the roguelike method, where you just kind of get as far as possible, like in Binding of Isaac, and you might die, but you're going to have a lot of fun playing to that point, and then you're going to want to try to even get further the next time. And that's one way to handle it. And there's also, if you look at something like XCOM, or you look at something like Fire Emblem, in these games you grow connected to your troops, and when they die, it's permanent, and you lose a lot of progress because you leveled them up and you bonded to them as characters. So if you have fellow Marines by your side, AI Marines that you care about, and then they die, then you would want to cover their ass all the time.
I got signals, I got readings in front and behind. There's nothing back here. Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving and it ain't us.
Get them out of there!
Yeah, and characters is just another place where the Alien games have suffered, because they just have these Semper Fi Marines that you don't care about. If they took a cue from something like Walking Dead, you're willing to make some tough decisions to save as many lives as you can, because you really care about all of those characters. And that's what Aliens has been missing, is they need to develop people that you want to live and that you are willing to risk your life to make sure that they're as safe as possible. So Alien games have kind of gotten into the trap of bringing you to recognizable locations like Hadley's Hope, but they don't bring anything interesting to it. There's no new perspective. If you look at something like Metal Gear Solid 4, that had Shadow Moses from the original Metal Gear Solid, and it showed it to you in a new light. It was first a nod to the original by having the old style graphics, but then it was also an amazing level on its own right.
I was having that dream again.
We're here.
That was one of the highlights of the game, actually. It was tense and it was scary because you have to fight the geckos. It was more than just fan service. It was more than just, hey, you remember that cool place? It was awesome in its own right, and that's what the Alien games have to realize, is when you're reusing old locations, you have to make them awesome in the game and not just rely on nostalgia. So first-person shooting is super fun and super precise, and you can just see tons and tons of games that use it well. But an Alien game is all about fear, and it's all about connecting to your character, so you don't want them to die. So if you put this in a third person and you see them like slam up against the wall to stay out of the sight of an alien, or cover their mouth so they don't scream, or any of these little mannerisms so you connect to the character and you understand what they're feeling, it would make it so much easier to be sympathetic and to be invested in this universe. Alan Wake is one game that did that really well. If that game was first person, you wouldn't have cared about Alan nearly as much. But by making it third person, you got to see who you were protecting and who you wanted to live, and it just made you care about him. There is one game that kind of gets all of these elements right. Alien Infestation on the DS. You cared about your characters. It was difficult. It was tense. Combat was present, but you were always scared to enter into it because you could just die at a drop of the hat. So it was ultimately a really good Alien game and a great game overall. And that's kind of the foundation of where future Alien games should go, is they should understand what makes the movie universe great and build on that, as opposed to saying what makes other video games great and going from there, because that is just the wrong path, and we've seen failure over and over and over again.
There's movement all over the place. 5 meters, man. 4.
Alien.